In this video, we're going to introduce Lombok Annotations. When we're writing object-oriented code, it's very quickly apparent that you have to repeat lots of code. It's standard code, and it's referred to as boilerplate code. For example, if you're writing get and set methods for fields, you will very often write exactly the same kind of code over and over again. And this means that the programmer is going to spend quite a bit of time writing very similar code. Now, interactive development environments will often provide shortcuts to allow this boilerplate code to be written very quickly. But there are other ways of reducing boilerplate code in our programming. For example, we could use a metaprogramming technique in which the computer will automatically write the necessary boilerplate code or insert it at compile time. Or we could use convention over configuration. So, for example, a framework would provide all the necessary default or conventional values and boilerplate code. Or we could use a model-driven engineering approach, which is where we would write our program as a model and then use a special piece of software which will generate code from that model. And that will completely eliminate the need for any manual writing of boilerplate code. But whichever mechanism we're using, we're not eliminating boilerplate code, we're just removing from the programmer the need to write it in the source code. Project Lombok is a type of metaprogramming, and according to their website, it is a Java library that automatically plugs into your editor and build tools. We can use these Lombok annotations instead of boilerplate code, and when the source code is built, the boilerplate code will be generated by the Lombok project. Let's have a look at a few examples. If we were to use the getter annotation or setter annotation and put it in front of an individual field declaration, that would automatically generate at build time a get and or a set method for that field. If we put these annotations in front of a class declaration, then the get and set methods will be generated for all non-static fields. If we were to use some or all of these constructor annotations in front of a class declaration, then the nominated constructor methods will be generated. Now, there are a lot more annotations than these few, and you would need to go and have a look at the website to get the details of them. If we wish to use Lombok annotations in our Spring Boot project, we would need to add the Lombok Dependency, either at the time we're using the initializer, or after we've created the project. If we want to add that dependency in, then we would add this to the POM file. But of course, you would choose the appropriate version, which is usually the latest stable version. So here's an example. This is from the vowel count application that we have used thus far in some of our previous videos. And this is the vowels class. You can see that we've got a couple of fields. We've got a noargs constructor, which will just initialize those two fields with a default value. And we have an args constructor, so all the required args are put in here, and they are used to initialize these fields. And then the get and set methods are completely standard. There is nothing in there that would surprise any programmer who's been writing OO code for maybe a couple of weeks. So all of this code from line 10 down to line 31 is just boilerplate code. It's all standard code. So we could use Lombok annotations to get rid of all that boilerplate code in the source code. And when we do that, it looks like this. What a difference. We've got the getter and setter annotations. We've got the noargs constructor and the allargs constructor annotations. And the only actual source code that we're writing is the declaration of the fields. This will significantly reduce code length and, to a large degree, make it much more readable. Let's go and have a look at the Lombok Demo. So here's the vowels class that's in the DTO package, as we saw just now in the lecture notes. Then in the controller, we're adding an allargs constructor, which will allow us to have the vowel count service initialized. In the service class, we've got an all-args constructor annotation as well, which will initialize the repository object. And in the repository class, again, an all-args constructor for initializing the JDBC template. And so our code has been made that little bit simpler, and particularly the effect of using these annotations leaves the classes to focus entirely on specific business code rather than on the generic boilerplate code. I recommend that you do some additional reading and have a look at more of the Lombok annotations to see what they can do for you.